Hey, good morning, everybody. We will be starting shortly. And hello to Kevin Orr. Haven't seen Kevin for a while. Great to have you pop in. We are going to be focusing on a machine made by Good Home, and it was modeled with the theme of light running Greyhound. And it's powered by a Westinghouse motor. I think you'll enjoy this one. Surprisingly strong and doesn't need a belt. It's got a friction pulley instead. Friction pulley instead. Let's see here. All right, let me get back to some music. I've got to close this out or it's going to keep on echoing. No issues setting up the live stream at all today. It was crazy easy. I hope that doesn't mean we're going to all of a sudden have a challenge. A little bit more marching music. I'm trying to pause the music and I keep hitting the wrong button. Kind of like working with a cell phone, isn't it? Susie and I were talking about it the other day is no matter how long we spend, the duration, the length of time with our cell phones, we sometimes can goof up and just hit the totally wrong button, right? Am I the only one that does that? I hope not. So here's the deal. I'm finishing my granola bar. We're going to be focusing on a machine that I don't believe that I've shown for quite some time. Quite some time. It's been, I want to say about 3 or 4 years since I've shown a machine like this one. Does anyone recognize it? I mean, the title kind of gives it away, doesn't it? This is made by New Home, and it's branded light running, and it has the emblem mark of a greyhound dog. Greyhound dogs right away tell you fast, light, agile, able to leap tall buildings in a single mound, in a sense. And that's really what they were pitching with this machine. Some of you are probably saying, okay, no, blah, blah, blah. Show us the front of this machine. Show us what it looked like. So I'm going to have to back up a little bit because I have this on Zoom today. A really, really cool, I call it the golden machine because I prepared one about 3 or 4 years ago for a dear lady out in California. And she named it that. So I've copied her now. It's a golden machine, almost kind of a bronzy gold, really a unique patina on this machine. And if you look at the branding mark here, you can see that greyhound right in the center. I think you can see it pretty much in the center. Light running, it kind of flashes a little bit, doesn't it? A machine that was made in, if you can read that, Rockford, Illinois. And most of you know that another company that made a lot of sewing machines for companies that never made a sewing machine was also located in Illinois. Does anyone remember the name of that company? What company was also based in Illinois and produced hundreds of different types of sewing machines privately branded for individuals that were looking to sell sewing machines but didn't want to spend millions of dollars in producing machines in their own factory? Does anyone remember the name of that sewing machine company? Anyone at all? Anyone remember that sewing machine company? And I should also let you know that we only have a couple of premieres and live streams left before I'm going to be shutting down for a while. And it's because Susie and I are going to be pivoting from the Twin Cities area and head down to Kentucky right around the first week of July. So only a couple of weeks out. Cow Country YouTube channel is going to go dark for a while. And we'll see. I don't know how long it'll be dark before I'm able to set things up again and, produce some more videos or show some more live streams down there. But very excited. I know Susie's incredibly excited about getting down there as well. She misses her mountains. Those of you that aren't familiar with that area and haven't been a part of previous live streams where I talk about Middlesboro, Kentucky, is the area that we are tracking towards. It is the area where Daniel Boone, with a pretty small handful of men, ended up clearing out the Cumberland Gap area. And the Cumberland Gap area kind of runs into the Appalachian Mountains. It divides Tennessee and Kentucky. And one of the prettiest places that I've ever been. And I think Susie as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun to call that place home and settle down in that area. So, but back to this machine again. You already know it was built in Rockford, Illinois. And it looks like no one guessed the name of the company that also built hundreds of sewing machines for other retailers, sellers that wanted to sell sewing machines but didn't want to spend all that money to set up a factory. Not the Free Sewing Machine Company. That's a great guess. Susie just nailed it. Susie nailed it. The National Sewing Machine Company. And certainly the Free Sewing Machine Company also has roots to Illinois as well, I believe. Maybe Alex can confirm that. And I'm just excited to show this machine because, like I said, I haven't shown one like this for about 3 or 4 years. Now, this machine would have come from the 1940s, 1950s. And couple questions for all of you that are in the live stream. Couple of questions for all of you. Can this machine, this new home rotary, can it take a standard Schmetz needle? Can this machine take a standard Schmetz needle like this? Is it able to take a standard Schmetz needle? I know some of you are still drinking coffee right now, and that's okay. I haven't had my coffee yet today, so I don't know how I'm wired up, but I am. But the question is, can this I'm so used to saying white rotary. I just got done rebuilding that motor for Candido and Rachel out in New York, so I've got white in my head. Hot tea for Susie. Awesome. So can this machine take a standard Schmetz needle? Tim is going to say no. And Tim is both right and wrong. Tim is both right and wrong. It cannot take a standard Schmetz needle, which is designed for a 15x1 system, sewing system, unless we modify it. We've got to modify this needle, and I'm going to show you today during this live stream how to do that, because the rotary needles are something that are really difficult to track down sometimes, especially reliable ones. And Tim is right. The rotary machines, as a rule, do have a unique design to them. And one of the first things you'll notice when you sit down to a rotary machine like this is that we talk all the time about the balance wheel turning towards us. When you are going to draw the thread up, rotate the balance wheel towards you. When you're going to draw that thread out, you might need to rock that balance wheel forward and back to get that thread to pull out, or other things like that. Well, the rotary series machines, for the most part, and Tim alluded to it by saying unique design, they're designed to rotate to the rear. And that's the first thing you need to be careful of when you sit down to a rotary sewing machine, whether it's a new home, whether it's a white or one of the other rotary style machines, and you're setting that machine up to sew, you've got to be aware as you're trying to pull that thread out of the bobbin case area, that if you rotate the machine towards you, you're going to jam it up because you're actually going against the direction of the hook assembly. The hook assembly is designed to rotate to the rear, and you can't rotate the balance wheel forward to draw that thread up. And historically, I've gotten calls like that before where people will say, I can't get the thread to come up on my rotary machine. I've got it threaded properly. I've got everything set up properly, but I can't get the thread to come up. And the first thing I say to them, which way are you rotating the balance wheel? Are you rotating it towards you, or are you rotating it away? And they'll inevitably say, well, I'm treating it the same as any of my other sewing machines. I'm rotating it towards me. I say, that's your problem. You can't do that with a rotary style machine. They have to be rotated to the rear because that's the way that they run. And that's an easy thing to figure out with any sewing machine you get that you are using for the first time. With it unthreaded, just turn it on once you know that that needle is clearing the hook system and everything. Turn it on and see which way that balance wheel is rotating in the process of the machine sewing. And then you'll know generally right away when you're pulling that thread up which way to rotate that balance wheel. So we're going to be modifying a standard Schmetz needle today to make it usable in this machine. Does anyone know approximately, and I know this is a tough question, but does anyone know approximately how many millimeters long a standard Schmetz needle is? How many millimeters long is a standard Schmetz needle? If anyone knows that, go ahead and type it in the live chat. And then I'm going to show you something that New Home did to try to make it really easy for the user, at least try to make it a little bit easier. They put this right on the bed of the machine. And they emphasize the fact that with a rotary needle machine, you've got to get the length of that needle exact. It can't be a millimeter off. It can't even be a couple thousandths of an inch off. Otherwise, you're not going to get the machine sewing properly. You've got to get it exactly the length from here to here. And I always measure it with the actual needle image versus this little bracket here where they've got this in here. It tends to sew a little bit better. So if you've got a machine like this, don't cut the needle or set the needle to the length of the exact length from here to here. Cut it so that it's the exact length of the actual image of the needle itself that's on the bed of this machine. That's how long we're going to cut it today. And if no one guessed the length of a standard Schmetz needle, the answer is, and if one of the leaders would type this into the live chat, I would be appreciative. It is millimeters. So from the end of the point to the top of the shank, from one end to the other, you're looking at 38 millimeters, okay? The needle that we need to sew on this New Home rotary machine needs to be 34.5, which means we need to reduce the size of the original Schmetz needle by 3.5 millimeters. So I'm going to demonstrate that in the live stream today, and I hope it's helpful to all of you that are using rotary machines if you're not able to get your mitts on a rotary type needle. There are vintage ones available, but some of the newer ones, like a lot of the stuff that's made contemporarily, are not made to the greatest standards. So I'm going to get my safety equipment on first. I'm going to get my safety goggles, glasses on. Kind of bring this up a little bit. Get my safety goggles on so you know that I've got my eyes protected. I'm also going to get my magnifiers on, or at least ready, so that I can really look closely at that needle. I want to look real close at that needle and make sure that I'm cutting it properly. Well, I'm going to show you how to mark it first of all. So you can see now I've got my safety goggles on. I've got my safety goggles on. I've got my magnifier on as well that I'll kind of rotate down once we actually start the cutting process of the needle. And now we're going to mark the needle so we know what the proper length is. Let's see here. I think I'll cut. And some of you might have wondered, you showed us an 80-12 needle. Can we do this modification also to a 90-14 Schmetz needle? The answer is yes. As long as it's a 15-by-1 needle setup, you can cut down any needle and use it in your rotary machine, including these size 100 leather needles, which is what we're going to be sewing with today. So I'm going to be modifying one of these leather needles, and then we're going to take out the existing needle and actually give our modified needle a try. If you try putting this needle in the way it is right now, the machine will not even pull the thread up. And if you get the thread to pull up, it'll be a miracle because it's just too long. And if you want to know in proportion, as far as the length of how much we're going to be removing from that needle, this is how much we're going to be removing from the needle right here between this caliper. That's actually part of the end of the needle that I cut down to test the sewing machine. Again, we're only talking about 3.5 millimeters reduction on the needle. So you want to be incredibly accurate. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues with the needle not picking the thread up or skipping stitches or something else. So I'm going to rotate the camera down a little bit. Going to get our leather needle out that has not been modified yet. Go ahead and take this out. I'll set it on the bed of the sewing machine. And again, we're starting out with a needle that is about 38 millimeters long. And we're going to be cutting it down to 34.5 millimeters. I've got to move all my stuff here. I'll show this to you real quick. Traditionally, this machine has a cut through the base of the machine in the back, and you plug in a cord like this to power the machine. And also, generally, you're going to hook up your foot controller to the same one. This is the one that the customer provided, and I tried everything to try to get reliable performance from this cord. But because this little neck right here, before I reinforced it with this shrink type tubing, because this neck is so thin and the wires coming off of this plug-in are like 20 gauge wires. They're ridiculously small wires. And this continues to flex up and down. I would get it to work and then it would stop working. I would get it to work and then it would stop working. I would get it to work and then it would stop working. And I actually shrink tubed the entire cord to try to get it to be as rigid as possible to see if that would resolve the problem. It just wasn't reliable. So what I did, and you can do the same thing to your rotary machine, because these inevitably, with the design and how thin the wires are running through here, they tend to break. So you can modify it just like I did to one of these block plugins. You can wire the motor. You can wire the motor and the lights separately. You can plug them into this junction box, and then you can wire your foot controller off of this, and then you're able to operate the machine with reliability. And because these points don't really flex, you're not going to have a failure like you do on the original cord. Yeah, I see Tim's comment. He loves the decals. I like them too. I think they're super cool. Super cool decals. All right, I'm going to pile up all my sew-off stuff. See if I can get a little bit closer. We go down over here. So we've got to line this leather needle up. Right now, it's unmodified, and we're going to have to modify it. You can see right now how long that shank is on the needle. We're going to have to reduce that by 3.5 millimeters. So we're going to line it up with the actual image of the needle, kind of like this. Line it up with the actual image of the needle. I'm trying to turn this over. I want that flat side to be facing up. And then I'm going to slide it down so that the point of the needle is lined up with the actual image. And like they say, the carpenter's rule, you want to check it at least twice before cutting. And like I said, if you're just a couple thousandths of an inch off, you're going to run into problems with the machine sewing, because there's such a limited tolerance with this rotary hook system going to the rear. Plus, we have a unique bobbin case system in here as well. Tim was spot on when he said a unique system. It's the hook system, it's the setup of the hook system, and then it's also the bobbin assembly as well, the bobbin case assembly. So we got a lot of uniquenesses that require that this machine be set up absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. Let me get it even a little bit more exact than that if I can. Right, check it one more time. So I think we've got the needle set up properly on the image. I'm going to hold it like this for a moment and just show you exactly. So again, I'm lining it up on the needle image. I'm not lining it up on the bracketed words of exact length. Do not line it up on the brackets of exact length. Line it up on the actual image of the needle. So you can see the end of the needle, how much we're going to have to remove, right? All right, let me set this down again. Get it right about there. Check my length one more time. And I'm going to very carefully put a mark on where we need to cut it. I'm going to do my best to get it exact. Okay, so I've marked the needle with our cutting point, and now I'm going to grab our cutter and we're going to actually reduce that needle down, but I'm not going to hold on to it because as soon as that rotary tool starts cutting through this needle, it's going to generate heat crazy fast. And that needle will get so hot it'll burn your fingers. So if you've got a pair of forceps similar to this, you'll want to grab that needle and get a lock on it so that you can hold on to it without getting burned. So I'm going to grip it right about there, lock it in place. You can see this is one of those forceps where you have the inner locking. So you don't have to hold on to it at this point. You've got that needle locked in. I'm going to rotate the camera just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to move it down a little bit as well. I think I'll kind of angle it out this way. See if I get the right angle. I kidded with Susie that she could stand down here with a fire extinguisher, but she probably would hit the button and then I get sprayed. So, all right. So I've got my little cutter here. Now I'm rotating down my magnifier so I can see even closer up on the needle. Make sure that we cut it the proper length. Go down a little bit further. Actually, I'm going to rotate this, trying to see which way it'll be easiest. Yeah, I can do it this way too. This will work. Hold on one second. I was rotating the rotary tool, and what are the chances that I would catch the end of the needle? But I believe that I did. I'm going to try to look at it under real close magnification. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, I think I just grazed it. I don't think I actually hurt the point on the needle. I don't think I actually hurt the point on the needle. But if we get a weird result when I put this actually in the machine, we'll know that I did ding it a little bit. So be careful with the rotary tool. It's incredibly unforgiving if it comes into contact with the wrong thing. Let me give this a try again now. That's a problem when you're trying to line up the shot with a camera. Okay, so I've got the needle like this. Let me check my height. You can see the end right there that we just cut off. Kind of hanging on. See that? So I'm going to let that cool off just for a second, and then we're going to go ahead and pull that off. So again, you can see this is about what we cut off right here. Yeah, that's not working. Let me try it. Hold on a second. This is what we just cut off right now. So that little piece right there is approximately 3.5 millimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and set the camera up now. We'll reinstall that needle. I'll take out the needle that I have in there right now, and we'll see how well we did in modifying it. Like I said, you'll know right away whether you did a good job or not by how well the machine sews. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this needle out. Set this off to the side in case I did a crummy job of cutting it. I can go back to my needle that I cut off camera. Now, when we set this needle, we're going to be putting the flat side to the right. Flat side goes to the right. Slide it into that needle socket. Make sure you get it all the way up. Okay, I got that needle set. All right, let me go ahead and thread it now. We're going to be threading it from left to right. And again, this is a size 100, which is a size 16 leather needle. A size 16 leather needle that we just modified. Again, we started with a needle that was approximately 38 millimeters long. We reduced it to about 34.5 millimeters. So we reduced it by about 3.5 millimeters. And we're going to see if it sews now. I actually cut one last night while I was getting the machine set up, and I kept running into problems with it not picking the thread up, and then I just reduced it by about another thousandth of an inch, and it was good to go. We'll try a little bit of cotton, see if we can get that successfully sewing. I've got about 4 layers of cotton. We'll see if our modified needle was a success. And hopefully I didn't nick the point on that leather needle. It felt like I did. We'll see. All right, and again, when you're getting the machine set up to sew, you want to rotate that balance wheel to the rear. Make sure your take-up arm is all the way up. And we'll see if we cut it right. Hopefully we did. And there you go. Beautiful stitching. This is 4 layers of 100% cotton. Some lovely, lovely stitching. And it looks like our lock stitching is also really good. Looks like we might need to bump up that lock stitch just a little bit. We might need to bump up that that top stitch upper tension a little bit, I mean. We'll stitch it one more time and just see what we think. And then I should go down the list and say hello to everybody real quick. I haven't done that for a while. All right, let me try this one more time. Again, when you get ready to sew, make sure you push the balance wheel to the rear. Don't pull it to the front. Yeah, some lovely stitching with our modified Schmetz leather needle. Our modified Schmetz leather needle. Let's give this a try again. So some more beautiful stitching. Beautiful stitching by this rotary new home machine that belongs to Bonnie. I didn't even say that yet. It belongs to Bonnie. Yeah, see, we're going to bump up our upper tension just a little bit. And our upper tension is right here in the front of the machine. So I'm going to turn this just a little bit towards me to the right to increase that upper tension just slightly. And these rotary machines have hypersensitive upper tension, so turn it in small increments. Don't go too far with it, or it's going to end up throwing that top stitch off quite a bit. So one more stitch row and just see if we tightened up that lock stitch on the bottom a little bit. I'm just going to sew right over my other thread there. So again, push the wheel away from yourself. Push the wheel away. And again, if you're joining us a little bit late, the needle that we have in this machine right now, we just custom made it. We just custom made this needle by taking an original Schmetz size 100 needle, and we cut it down by approximately 3.5 millimeters to get it to a length of 34.5 millimeters. The rotary machine cannot use the Schmetz needle as it comes out of the package. You've got to modify it, cut it down by about 3.5 millimeters, and then you'll be good to go. And you can do it with any of the Schmetz needles. That's the beauty of it. It can be a leather needle. It can be a denim needle. It can be a stretch type needle, anything you want. All right, give a listen to this machine again. Yeah, really, really quite lovely. Beautiful stitching. It's our top stitching and our lock stitching as well. Yeah, and our lock stitching is starting to come into form nicely with this cotton. Getting some good looking stitching starting to come into form, but I might even bump it up just a little bit more. And I'm going to take out the bobbin case. It's kind of a pain in the neck to get the bobbin case inserted, but I want to show you the uniqueness of the bobbin case for this machine as well. It's called a long beak shuttle design. Has anyone ever heard of a long beak shuttle design before on a sewing machine? I know I presented machines like this on this channel before, but probably haven't done it for a while. So as you're looking into the raceway area, you can see there's a little lever right here on the left. Let me do it this way. There's a little lever on the left right there. And you've got to push that out to get the bobbin case out. So I'm actually going to be pushing this little lever to the rear of the machine, and then I'll pull this long beak shuttle system out so you can look at it, and I'll actually show you how to thread it as well. The threading of this is a little bit tricky, not horribly tricky, but it requires a little bit more attention to detail when you're setting it up. So see if we can pull that out real quick. I do it with two hands just because my hands are bigger. I can get my finger in there. I can push this to the rear of the machine. Then I can grab the bobbin case and kind of pull it out past that. So now I've got the bobbin case out. You're going to notice right away it looks different. Once I get into the camera shot, that is. Isn't that clever looking? Take a look at that. And it's called a long beak because it kind of sticks out of the top of the bobbin case, doesn't it? It projects out with a little tower almost, doesn't it? And as you're adjusting tension on this, we're used to always looking up here in this area, up here, for adjusting tension, aren't we? But on this long beak shuttle design, we have our adjusting screw right in the center of the bobbin case right there. So if I'm going to adjust this bobbin case, I've got to put my screwdriver right in the middle, like so, right in the middle. And then as I adjust it down, it's going to push the tension band that's this entire plate right here. It's going to push that down harder and define that top stitch better, isn't it? So I don't think I need to adjust it right now, but if we have to, we'll pull it out and we'll adjust that little screw right there. Again, clockwise is going to give you a greater pull down to define the top stitch. Counterclockwise is going to adjust the tension down, which means it's going to give a little bit more of a pronounced lock stitch. This is going to be pulling down to define the top stitch, and this, where is it? This is going to be pulling up to define the lock stitch. Pulling up, pulling down. Okay. So yeah, a long beak shuttle design. Let's see if we can take out the bobbin that's in there right now, and then I'll show you how to thread this puppy up. Okay. So I'm going to tilt this to the side. Our thread will be coming over the top when we're sewing. This is what the bobbin looks like right here in the shot. And when this bobbin got here, it had very, very rough edges, like someone had chewed the edge with some sort of a cutting tool. So I continued to polish it down, polish it down, polish it down. It's still not exactly perfect, but it's much better. And I'm hoping that Bonnie has more bobbins for this shuttle system. I'm going to set it on the bed of the machine real quick, modify the camera a little bit. We'll do a little bit of quick maintenance on this, as I've shown you do it many, many times in other live streams. I'm going to take a little bit of kerosene sewing machine oil mix. We're going to take that long beak shuttle and we're going to swab the inside of that bobbin assembly. We're going to do this little stem that the bobbin slides on as well. We're going to do the inside where it mounts to the machine. Get that a little bit cleaner as well. And I've cleaned this multiple times, and look at what we got out already. It reminds you that you got to do maintenance on your bobbin case, don't you? You've got to do maintenance on your bobbin case because all kinds of stuff gets drawn into that area and it'll create all kinds of challenges with your sewing process, won't it? So we did a good job, I think, of cleaning that. And then you want to put just a light little coat. Look at all that dirt. Oh my gosh. You want to put just a light little coat of sewing machine oil or sewing machine oil kerosene mix on the inside of that bobbin case, because that's going to be spinning constantly, isn't it? We've got to keep that properly lubricated so that that bobbin turns freely and we don't have any thread feed issues, right? So I just dampened my Q-tip swab that's clean, and I'm just going to swab the inside, swab around there, and put a little bit on the inside as well as it comes apart. Now we're going to thread this bobbin case up. Again, you want to have the thread coming over the top when you insert it. Let me flip my little visor up. I'm having trouble seeing. Now you can see we've got the bobbin case in our left hand, the bobbin in our right with the thread over the top. We're going to slide it into position. And now that we have the bobbin in there with the thread over the top, we're going to go through this little track right there. And all you do is bring it into that track, and then, all you do is bring it into that track. And then from there, you then have to go on this side of the long beak, and you'll see that there's a little notch in there. If the camera focuses, you'll see that there's a little notch in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw that through that little notch, and then holding the bobbin, we're going to pull it straight up so that it's coming out the top, like so. So we took it in that little track, and then we pulled it straight up so that the thread is now coming out the top of the long beak shuttle. I hope that makes sense. I hope I did a good job of trying to show that to you. So now the bobbin case is threaded properly. That's all you have to do. Now we have to try to get it back into the raceway, which is a little bit of a booger. It's a little bit of a challenge. I might put on some music while I'm doing this so that it calms my soul a little bit. If you've got smaller hands, it's probably a breeze. It's probably a breeze to do this if you have smaller hands. If you got bigger hands like Tim and myself and Alex and other guys that have bigger hands, it's a little bit of a booger to get it in there. Let me put on some music to calm our soul. We're doing this. I don't know if marching music's going to do it. I better put on something a little calmer than that. Maybe some Royal Classic. That should do it. So remember this little lever thing, you have to push it to the side. You have to push this to the side to get this bobbin case back in. We're going to push that little lever to the back, and we're going to try to slide this back into position again. I think I got it. Right at the end of the music, I got it in there. Oh my goodness. And yes, of course, the obvious thing that a lot of you might be saying is, Scott, why don't you just rotate the machine up and just do it from underneath the machine? That certainly is an option. But they designed this little door to open and close. So I want to show you the challenges with the machine as well, with the way they've got it set up with this little door. If you got smaller hands, it works great. If you've got bigger hands, like a lot of us guys, it's a little bit more challenging. So now we want to try to draw that thread up. I'm going to put the thread down here and just drop it down there. We got to draw the thread up. We're going to hold our thread in the back like we always do. And remember, when you go to do this, rotate that balance wheel to the rear, to the back. Otherwise, it's not going to get that thread. So I'm rotating this forward. And there our thread just popped up nicely. Draw that thread forward, and then you can draw this to the rear again. Now, I have another question for all of you about this machine. You know that it's got a lot of uniquenesses. Tim touched on that straight away. And we talked about some of the uniquenesses of this machine. We know that certain parts of it are metal, like the faceplate. The magnet is grabbing hold of that. But when I go to touch this part of the machine or the bed, I'm not getting a magnetic response. Does anyone have a hunch as to what this machine is made of? There's more metal right there. Ha ha! More metal. It's a nice magnetic response. Metal. Metal. What is that stuff? What is that right there? What is this machine made out of? Is it aluminum? Is it something else? Tim is saying he thinks it's probably aluminum. I'm going to surprise you and tell you that it is not made out of aluminum. It's not made out of aluminum. It is made out of a different alloy. And I'm going to give you some clues and see if you can guess what kind of material this is. It is 33% lighter than aluminum. It's 75% lighter than metal. It is inherently corrosive resistant, which means it's not going to have the rusting issues that a lot of our sewing machines have, particularly the Kenmores that were made post-World War II out of those sunken Navy vessels in the Sea of Japan. And when they build those Kenmores, they inevitably rust. I know that Teresa and I were chatting recently, and she said that Tim and her just got a couple of Kenmores recently, and one of them has a lot of rust issues. And that's inherently common among a lot of the Kenmore machines because of how they harvested that metal from the sunken Navy vessels in that salty Sea of Japan area. So again, this material that this machine is made out of, 33% lighter than aluminum, 75% lighter than steel, and strength to weight ratio is one of the strongest materials in the world. What do you think it is? One of the strongest materials in the world when you look at the strength to weight ratio. Tim's thinking maybe tin. Tin can actually rust. If anyone has ever seen a tin roof, what is that one song or story about a cat on a hot tin roof? If you've ever been in the rural areas, tin over time will get kind of a rustiness on it. Maybe it's an oxidation, I don't know, but it looks nasty. So it's not tin, but that's a great guess, Tim. That's a really, really good guess. What are some of the other alloys that we are familiar with that are used in manufacturing? Kathy King says titanium. That's an excellent guess, but titanium, as far as weight to strength ratio, is actually quite a bit heavier than aluminum type non-ferrous materials. I'll give you a clue, though, in relation to Kathy's guess about it being maybe titanium. This material that this machine is made of, this machine right here that this machine is made of, is 50% lighter than titanium. 50% lighter than titanium. Now, someone just popped into the live chat, Saturday Sewing. Saturday Sewing. Look at what Saturday Sewing typed in the live chat, because guess what? They just nailed it. A number of the rotary machines that White, that Domestic, and that New Home put out, they decided to make them out of magnesium. They made them out of magnesium instead of making them out of aluminum or making them out of a standard type metal material. And the way you can test a machine officially, and I've done it on this channel already, is you can get a part of the magnesium. Maybe you can scrape it off the bottom where it's not going to be conspicuous. And then you can do a scientific test to see if it is magnesium. You can add vinegar to it and it will bubble up. You can add a flame to it, like I demonstrated in one live stream. And when you add a flame to it, it crackles. Almost creates like a 4th of July. So very, very cool stuff, and some great guesses, great answers as far as this machine. So that tells you right away if this machine being made out of magnesium is approximately 33% lighter than aluminum, how difficult do you think it is to carry around this rotary machine made by New Home? It's almost like a featherweight. It's almost like a featherweight. It's so light. It's ridiculously light when it comes to carrying around a machine like this. So they are incredibly powerful. They're incredibly portable. Incredibly portable. Quilting, this would be a perfect machine to take on a quilting retreat, to your friend's house, loaded in the car. Even though I had to repair the case, interestingly, the case for this machine weighs about the same as the machine. The case for this machine weighs about the same as the machine itself. And I had to do a quick repair on it for Bonnie. The latches were shot on this machine. And so I went, where's the case? Is it over here? I can't see. There it is. I've almost got it. Aha! I went to our local handyman's type store, handy person store, and I picked up what is called a sash lock, a sash lock. These are commonly used on windows. In fact, when I showed this to Susie, when I brought it back to the workshop, she says, oh yeah, I've got those on the windows so that someone can't open them. And so they're used on windows commonly, but they're also very, very effective for locking this to the base of the machine. You just do this to open it up, and then you do this to lock it back into place. It pulls up with this little hook on the bottom, if I can show it in the shot. It's got this little hook right here, and it locks around that mounting base. See how it's kind of got a hook assembly? And it bites in there and it holds it very, very firm. Very, very firm. Incredibly strong as well. They're incredibly sturdy. And this is called a tight lock sash lock. They've got regular sash locks like you would use on windows, and they've got this one that really, really ratchets it down to lock it in on the base of the machine. But I wanted to be extra cautious anyway. And so what I did when I installed this new hardware for Bonnie, I decided to also add these fairly inconspicuous little rubber boots, one on each end, and then also one in the middle as well. They're just basically little grommets, aren't they? They're little grommets. They don't interfere with the sewing process at all. But what they do is they prevent that lid from moving left and right when it's latched on the machine. And by not being able to move left and right, it's absolutely secure. So I've got one there, one there, one there. And then I've got the same thing on the other side. You can just barely catch a glimpse of them over there. And what that does is it makes sure that, if you're just carrying the machine, that tight lock sash lock is going to hold the lid on very firm. But if somehow the lid is able to pivot too far left or right, the machine could drop. And I didn't want that to potentially happen. So I just added these little bumpers that the lid slides on the inside of, and then it can't move left or right. So if you're looking for a locking solution for a case, you might want to consider going to Menards or Home Depot or something like that. And you can pick up a tight seal sash lock. And they're built by a company called Everbuilt. Yeah. They work real well, and you can get them in different colors. You can get them in kind of a polished gold. You can get them in a satin nickel finish like I did. You can get them in black, all kinds of different colors depending on the color of your case. So you can, have a nice way of carrying your machine around if that somehow the latches on that case have failed. Yeah. All right. What else? I think I was sharing some other fun facts. So yes, this machine is magnesium. You should also know, and you might not know this, that magnesium, because of its strength to weight ratio, is not only used in making sewing machines sometimes, but it's also used in making certain automobiles, at least parts of the automobile. It's also used in race cars, and it's also used in military aircraft and specifically military helicopters. A lot of the components of the helicopters that are military that you see in the movies and that are made out of magnesium because, again, the strength to weight ratio, it's one of the strongest alloys in the world. It's not nearly as strong as titanium, but titanium also is 50% heavier than magnesium. And when you're dealing especially with military vehicles, ones that fly, weight is a big deal. You're always trying to lower that weight down. And again, the strength to weight ratio with magnesium, you just can't beat it. It's one of the strongest alloys that has ever been discovered and used in manufacturing. And magnesium is also used, if any of you have ever done or know of die casting, magnesium is commonly used in die casting as well. And whereas titanium, like I think it was Kathy that thought it might be titanium, because it's a lot denser, a lot stronger, but a lot heavier also, that's used in metal injection quite a bit as far as manufacturing. Yeah. So a little bit more information that you can walk away with. So if you come across one of these, I call them the golden machines, because that's what my friend out in California called it when I prepared one for her. She's out in the mountains of California, and she said, "That's my golden machine." So now I've stolen her idea, and now I'm calling it a golden machine as well. So let's walk around this golden machine real quick, and I'll show you a couple things. Right here, we've got our bobbin winder. If you want to engage it, you just kind of push up here, and it locks into place. And then when you're done winding, push it back down. And remember, on your bobbin winders, there's usually going to be a lubrication point. Occasionally, you want to put just a tiny drop of oil in here. Just don't over oil it, because what it does is it runs down the shaft and then it gets onto your bobbin, and your bobbin starts slipping. So make sure you put just a tiny drop of oil in that hole, rotate it so it turns real nicely, like this one. And then you'll have a real happy bobbin winder. When you're threading this up to wind a bobbin, it's a little bit unique. You put your bobbin right up here, your spool of thread, excuse me. You put your spool of thread up here, and then you're going to thread it through this little thread guide right here. You kind of just draw the thread into that little notch, and then you drop down to here, and you actually thread through that hole right there from left to right. Excuse me, from right to left. From right to left. So again, come off the top with your spool of thread, get it in that little notch, and then you're going to thread here from right to left so that it stays in that little notch, and then just drop straight down to your bobbin here, and then you can wind that bobbin up through there. Yeah. Standard clutch disengagement for your stop action. Just hold your balance wheel and then rotate this towards you when you're going to wind a bobbin. What about the motor on the back of here? You can kind of get a glimpse of the unique motor on here. It's a direct drive type system. It's a direct drive type system where instead of having a belt, we have what's called a friction pulley. You see that friction pulley right there, that due to a spring load, the entire motor assembly is on a spring assembly that pushes the motor and the pulley into the back of the balance wheel. So you've got inward pressure from that spring built into the motor assembly, pushing this friction pulley into the back of the balance wheel and giving direct drive. The only maintenance you have to do on this is when you're not using the machine, you want to rotate. When you're not using the machine, you want to rotate the motor away from the balance wheel and put something between the friction pulley and the balance wheel. Otherwise, if it stays like this for a long time and it's not used, it creates this awful little dimple, and it basically creates an uneven turning surface then for that friction pulley. So you can grab anything. You could grab a little cosmetic pad like this, or you can grab a piece of cloth or a piece of leather, and then you just rotate the motor out and you stick this in between so that it's got a buffer between the friction pulley and the balance wheel. And that way you don't ruin your pulley. These pulleys are sometimes hard to get a hold of, and they're a little bit costly. So just take a few seconds when your machine is going to be parked for a while and not used, and stick something in between there. It can be anything, just so it creates enough of a cushion that the friction pulley is not making contact with the balance wheel when it's not in use. And then when you get ready to sew, just rotate it out and you're back into business again. Periodically, you want to take a Q-tip swab with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and with the machine unthreaded. With the machine unthreaded, you'll just kind of hold your Q-tip swab against there and clean this surface off, because in proximity to the motor, it gets oil on there, it gets grease, it gets all kinds of things, and you want to keep that pulley nice and clean, right? And then for cleaning your balance wheel that's going to be coming in contact with it, because this is a chrome finish, you'll use a little bit of Windex, just a little bit of Windex and not soaked, just lightly damp, and just wipe all the way around your balance wheel to get that surface nice and clean. That way you've got a clean friction wheel, and you've got a clean balance wheel, and you've got some of the best possible traction that you could want with a sewing machine. The best possible traction you could want with a sewing machine. I would rank this up with almost gear-to-gear drive. When this is clean, and the motor is performing well, it's like having direct drive. It's just crazy, the power of these rotary machines with that friction pulley design. Yeah. Basic maintenance is pretty straightforward on this machine. You've got an oiling point right there that's going to lubricate that main shaft coming off the balance wheel. You've got a hidden lubrication point underneath your spool felt right there. Another one right there. There is not one in the middle underneath this spool pin. You've got another one right there. And then, of course, you can take your faceplate off by removing the two screws. There's a screw right here and a screw right here underneath the upper tension. And then that entire assembly comes off. Make sure when you remove it that your pressure foot lever is in the down position. It'll come off a lot easier. Why don't we look real quick at the threading? Once I show you the front of the machine, I'll just show you a couple things on there. And then we'll jump into some more sewing with this rotary new home. Let's see here. On-off switch for the light. And yes, I replaced this light. I replaced this light with one of the LED ones. You probably can't see it. Shut the light off, you may be able to. There's one of those LED lights. So if you happen to have one of these rotary machines and you have one of those old incandescents that put out like as much heat as the sun, and they also don't put out as much brightness as you might want, go ahead and pick up one of those bayonet style LED lights. I would say you could go up to about 25 watts. LED lights are rated differently, but you know what I mean. And then get one of those bayonet style ones that you push in and then you turn, and you'll have a real bright lighting system on here like Bonnie does now. Really, really nice and bright. And then here we've got our stitch length control. You can see that right there if I hold the camera still. If you push it all the way to the top, you're going to be sewing forward, which is kind of the opposite, isn't it? Tim was alluding to earlier in the live stream, it's a very unique machine with unique systems. And we've already highlighted a number of those uniquenesses. And now we're looking at the stitch length controller, which is also unique in that normally when we push it to the top, we're going to be sewing in reverse, but not with this one. You push it all the way to the top, you're going to have the longest stitch length, about 6 to 7 stitches per inch. And then you gradually bring it down and you can get into about the, probably not quite to 30 stitches per inch, but probably around 25 stitches per inch is what you can do on this rotary new home machine. And then if you go all the way to the bottom, you can sew in reverse. Now, real quick, again, focusing on that motor mounted in the back, that again is kind of spring loaded, and it pushes that friction pulley into the back of the balance wheel. Does anyone want to guess as far as the size of this motor and who made the motor? What size motor are we looking at, and who made that a motor on the back of the machine, if anyone knows? Who made the motor, and what size motor do we have on this rotary Greyhound machine? I'll call it the golden machine. And while you're guessing, I'll go down and say hello to everybody. Looks like Teresa has to step away, and that's totally cool. Teresa, great having you, dear. And Susie and I are very excited about getting together with you guys soon in Thorpe, Wisconsin at the Torpedo. And we're going to bring some of the things that are due you, like the Guggenheim shears that you won, and a puzzle box that you won as well. And yeah, there may be some other, maybe like a spray bottle and maybe a couple of other goodies. And it looks like Susie was guessing 1.2 amps, too big. And Aaron Allen, my dear friend from the beautiful state of Vermont, was saying 0.9. Aaron is pretty close, but still just a little bit too big for this rotary style motor. Let me go all the way to the, oops. Let me go all the way to the top. I'm going to say some quick hellos. Looks like Susie was the first in the classroom this time. Alex beat her the last time, which was really cool. Alex beat Susie the last time getting in the classroom. And then we also had Kevin Orr pop in. Kevin Orr works with the United States government in a kind of a secretive position, sort of secret. And he and I have communicated off camera a couple of times, and knowing the nature of his work, I thanked him for his devotion to our country and keeping us safe. Just like our friends Mike and his wife Jill, Mike and Jill Sanborn, that work with the FBI. We have a number. If y'all don't know this, we've got a number of like secret agent people that like sewing, and they're part of our circle. They're part of our cow country family. So yeah, it's kind of a blessing to have them in our midst, and also a blessing the work that they do. So Teresa had to step away, but she also arrived early at the live stream. I'll say hey to Teresa and Tim, and also Alex as well. And good morning also to, I'm still scrolling. Kutan. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Kutan 6 or Kutan 6 also joined us and had typed in a response, something about an Elgin. So Kutan 6. I don't believe I've seen that name before. So welcome to Kutan 6, if I'm reading it correctly. Joelle also Watkins from out in California. You might remember her mom and she recently sent some goodies to the workshop. A really cool shirt that I wore in one of the recent live streams. And then also Joelle made a beautiful bag that Susie immediately claimed and said, "That's mine, please." So a special hello to Joelle and also her mom, I believe Sandra, out in Bakersfield, California. A shout out to Bakersfield. Woohoo! And also, who else do we have? Still scrolling. I love when you all are chatty. It's really cool. Kathy King as well. Welcome to Kathy King. Always a pleasure to have her here. And Saturday Sewing. Saturday Sewing is the one that nailed the magnesium as far as the machine's composition. Who else do we have? Aaron Allen as well from the beautiful state of Vermont. Great to have Aaron here. I think I caught everybody, didn't I? Did I catch everybody? I think so. I think I caught everybody and said good morning. So it's just such a privilege and honor to come together on a Saturday. I know everyone is busy on a Saturday. I know everyone is really, really busy. And it's great that you take time to come together with us and be part of the family. And we have sometimes our family is huge. I didn't specifically look at the number, but I saw Susie typed in a number about our attendance near the earlier part of the live stream. It was several hundred people. And now we're down to a more of an intimate gathering of our family, kind of a small family gathering of around 13 or 14 people, which is perfect. It looks like Tim typed in a guess. Susie had said 1.2. Aaron said 0.9 amps. And then Tim said National Sewing Machine Company made the motor, and it's 0.85. I beg to differ with my dear friend Tim. It actually was not made by the National Sewing Machine Company, and it is not 0.85 amps. I'm actually going to see if I can take the camera over and zero in on that motor and give you a chance to discover the answer for yourself. Okay? Let me see if I can do that real quick. So if my camera shot is pretty good, you can see that it was actually the Westinghouse company that made the motor. And it is in fact 0.7 amps. So Tim was probably closest to the answer with saying 0.85. But it actually is 0.7. But 0.7 is all you need on a machine like this when it has that positive traction of that wonderful, wonderful friction pulley against the balance wheel. Really, really quite powerful. Learning how to stitch up crime. Oh, Tim, you tickle me, man. You tickle me. That's awesome. I think the saying used to be take a bite out of crime, right? Isn't it what they said when they were using that dog, that polka dot dog or whatever to promote their stuff? So and so takes a bite out of crime. But yeah, why don't we can stitch up crime just as easily. All right, seeing if there's any other details. If you're not familiar with the history, I'll just show you the front of the machine again. If you're not familiar with the history of the New Home Sewing Machine Company, they actually started as the Gold Medal Sewing Machine Company. The Gold Medal Sewing Machine Company, and they were owned by Johnson Clark and Company in Massachusetts, right around 1860. Right around 1860. And then around 1882, they became the New Home Sewing Machine Company. Kind of in the mix of that was William Barker as well, and Andrew Clark, and all kinds of different things. Does anyone know what company bought the New Home Sewing Machine Company right around 1960? Around 1960, the New Home Sewing Machine Company, again, it started originally as the Gold Medal Sewing Machine Company out in Massachusetts. And then there was a company that got its eye on New Home, and it said, we like what we're seeing. We want to do more of that. And they bought out this company. And I'm looking across at the laptop, and Susie just nailed it. Janome again, just like that last machine that I presented, that Janome had a hand in manufacturing. And actually, Janome made a number of machines similar to that. Janome also had a hand post 1960 in actually manufacturing the New Home sewing machines as well. There are other machines they made as well. They were very dominant coming out of Tokyo, Japan, and they figured the more that they owned, the more they could control the manufacturing and the more saturation they'd have with the customers. So that's what they did. Yeah, Janome was involved not with this machine, but after this machine was made right around 1960. So great answer on Susie's part. And no, I did not tell her the answer before the live stream. She just knew it. I think I covered everything else. Let's see here. Yeah, I had some little notes that I'd written down. So let's do some more sewing on this machine and see what we think. See what we think of this machine. All right, I'm going to throw that to the side. And I don't have as much to sew today because Susie and I are having to meet with a customer in a bit, but we'll give a couple of sew-offs a try on this machine and give you a chance to get a feeling for this new home and just get an appreciation as well for, I think, just the spectacular power of this machine. It's almost kind of surprising, the power of this machine. So we might as well do a little bit of denim. Denim is a very popular material to sew. See if we can do a little bit of denim on this new home golden machine. So I've got 2 layers, 4 layers, 6 layers, 8 layers. I don't know that we can get through 8 layers of denim with this machine. I'm sewing with a leather needle. I may have nicked the point on it, which is kind of terrifying. But yeah, maybe I could do 6. And if we are able to get the 8 layers underneath, we'll try that afterwards. Let's see if we can do this. I don't think we're going to be able to get 8 underneath there. We can just barely get 6 layers. That would be 8 layers. It does have very nice presser foot clearance, so yeah, we're kind of sneaking it in there. So we'll try 6. We'll try 6, and then we'll dare maybe try doing 8. Let me just double check this again. 2, 4, 6. Let me make them a little bit wider. That's 2, 4, 6. Let's try 6 layers of denim. And again, as we're getting ready to sew, we'll want to, I got to show you the threading on this machine as well, don't I? The threading is a little tricky on this machine. I really should cover that. I'll tell you what, I'll cover it right after we do the 4 layers of denim. So remind me if I forget. Someone text me or call me or shoot up a flare if I forget. I want to show you the threading on this machine and also talk about something I discovered on the faceplate that would have made the machine impossible to sew with. Literally impossible to sew with. Okay, so again, as I'm getting ready to start, I'm going to take my take-up arm. That's this right here. Take my take-up arm all the way to the top, pushing the wheel to the rear, right? There we go. So now I'm ready to sew. Rotate the camera back down. We'll take a look at that material from a distance, sort of. I'm not going to give it a hand start. We're just going to jump into this. I think that friction wheel will bite into that balance wheel, and we should be able to sew down this quite nicely. All right, here we go. Yeah. Push the balance wheel to the rear again so you can draw that thread out. Oh, yeah, very nice. That's our 6 layers. Give this a clip. Pull back again. So 6 layers of denim. We might do 8. We might do 8. But you know what I should do before I go too much further? I'll show you the stitching. But the only thing I didn't show is the presser foot pressure right here. So I'm going to give that a couple of turns clockwise. If we're going to try 8 layers of denim, we better crank this down a little bit, right? All right, we're almost at the max. We're almost at the max right now. All right, let's take a look at this stitching, and then we'll look at the idea of doing 8 layers afterwards. So this is our top stitching. Once the camera focuses. And remember, again, if you joined us a little bit late, we custom made this needle that we're sewing with right now, didn't we? We custom made this needle that we're sewing with right now. It's a leather needle, size 100, which equates to a size 16. We're sewing on denim with a Schmetz leather needle. Ha ha! And the Schmetz people, as you know, I think you know, they follow us on YouTube. They follow us on Facebook. They love us. They love all of you because all of you have made their needles the best needle in the world, the most desirable needle in the world. Yeah, some beautiful stitching. It almost looks like that long beak bobbin system is pulling down a little bit hard. I'm seeing a little bit of a stubbiness in some of our top stitching where it's pulling down a little bit too hard, isn't it? Let's check it like this as well. See if we can see it this way. Start right at the top. Some really, really lovely stitching through 6 layers of denim using a leather needle. I'm not sure what Jenny, our ambassador needles, would say about this. She'd probably say, well, if it works, use it. If it works, use it, right? See, if I cut my hand over the camera, it kind of blocks out that light. That helps quite a bit to see those stitches, doesn't it? Six layers of denim with a leather needle. Now I'm going to flip it over, but I'll show you kind of the thickness of what we went through. That's 6 layers right there. Some beautiful, beautiful stitching. We'll kind of turn it around. Look at that lock stitching now on the back of the material. Start over here and kind of go across. Yeah, some really good looking stitching as well. Again, we're sewing denim, 6 layers of denim with a leather needle. Some really, really nice looking stitching. But I think we'd probably get a better result if we used a denim needle, wouldn't we? Probably get a better result with a denim needle. Yeah, 6 layers is a lot. I don't know. Should we consider trying? Should we try doing 8 layers of denim? Does that even make sense? I don't know. We've got success. Maybe we should stop while we're ahead, huh? I don't know that we've done 8 layers of denim in a while. Yeah, happy Father's Day to everybody too, huh? That's kind of cool. Happy Father's Day. So I'm not getting any response as far as trying 8 layers. I think I'll stop with 6. I think that's enough denim to demonstrate the strength of this new home rotary. I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side. If anyone had jumped in right away and said, yeah, let's do 8 layers, I might have tried it, but y'all were sleeping at the wheel. So yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do 8 layers. And we already tried cotton, so I'm going to set this to the side. Set the cotton to the side because we already sewed cotton after we got done cutting that needle and customizing it. We do have some upholstery material. And then I've got a lot of different types of leather today, along with some vinyl as well. I think I'll try this upholstery material. This stuff is made out of polyester and also recycled nylon. So I think this will be kind of a fun sew off to try to really demonstrate the power of this new home. Move that out a little bit. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. And I think I'll orientate them the same way except for the bottom one. So layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and layer 4. I'll put the opposite way so we can maybe see that stitching just a little bit better. So 4 layers of upholstery material, nylon and polyester, kind of looks like that. Go ahead and try to sew that off as well and see what result we get. Did not test this off camera. Press your foot down. I'll rotate that balance wheel to the rear. Get the take-up arm all the way up. All right, let's give this a go. 4 layers of upholstery material. Let's see if we can have success with this as well. Here we go. And I know that Saturday Sewing said they really love the sound of this machine. I'm in the same boat. I love it. Just sounds like it's here to, it's here to take care of business. It's here to take care of business and get the job done. So hopefully our custom-made needle that we made by grinding down a regular Schmetz needle continues to get the job done. Here we go. All right, rotate that up. Again, rotate the balance wheel to the rear. And, ideally, you probably want to pull the thread to the right because we threaded from left to right. But if you do it a little bit different, that's okay, as long as it works. All right, we'll take a look at this upholstery material, and then I'll remember to show you how to thread this machine. If I don't, send me multiple text messages. Hey, you forgot. All right, this is our upholstery material, 4 layers of it. You see from the side again what we just went through. Kind of what it looks like there. Not a light sew off. Definitely not a light sew off. So this is our top stitching. We'll kind of go across and look at this. I'll try to get real close because I think also that light is going to be creating a little bit of a havoc with us. We'll see if we can see these nice and close. There we go. Really quite lovely, aren't they? Quite lovely. Definitely, I would say a page 34 plus type stitch. The spacing, the formation is just spot on. And you can see that upholstery material is no joke. It's no joke. We'll kind of go across and look at these. Again, I'm guessing that Schmetz would not recommend that we sew upholstery material with a leather needle, but maybe they would. Maybe they would recommend it just because we did it. All right, let me see if I can get over here and I'll show you these vertically as well. I'm having a heck of a time lining it up on the camera here. I don't know what you see, but I see some beautiful stitching on 4 layers of upholstery material. And again, we used a leather needle to do that. And it got some beautiful results. Look at the thickness of that from the side again. That is some super thick stuff. Now we're going to look at that. We'll go ahead and look at that lock stitch on the bottom. If I got my material oriented correctly. Take a look at that lock stitch on the bottom. I'll kind of cup the camera a little bit to block the light out. Little bit of a weak spot there in the middle. Looks like our tension may have kind of let loose as we were going through the middle of that upholstery material. We'll look at it like this as well. May have been the angle that I had it, but I thought it maybe looked like it let loose a little bit. That may have been the angle that I had it on. But these rotary machines are, I think, surprisingly strong. And we just did 4 layers of denim. We've done a number of other sew-offs already, some beautiful results. You can look at the stitching right there. I think it's absolutely spectacular, as is the lock stitching on the back as well. So I'm going to throw that in our pile of sew-offs we've already done. We've done denim, we've done cotton, and now we've done upholstery material. I think we'll do a little bit of leather now. And this is a new leather that Susie and I just found at a local store. It's the coolest store if you're into electronics and the old radio type trans whatever they call those things. Um, the old fuses and motors and all the internal components of a lot of the vintage type items. This store has just a treasure trove of things that you can pick up. And now they've got big bins of leather like this. And I picked up some of this full grain leather, and I thought I would give it a try on this rotary machine as well. And if you look at it from the side, that's about as thick as a heavy duty belt. That's about as thick as a heavy duty belt. And again, it's full grain leather. Full grain leather is, I mean, that is tough stuff. Probably about 5 ounces of leather there. So we're going to give this a go and see how this rotary does with a piece of, excuse me, a piece of full grain leather. I'm going to put on a little bit of music. I'm getting stir crazy with the quietness. You've had a machine opportunity to hear the machine run several times. Tell you what, I won't do it while I'm sewing the leather initially, but then I'll turn it on afterwards. Let's see if I can get my phone over there. Okay, let's give this a try. Full grain leather. And I didn't mention the merchant's name. I probably should have. It's called Axeman. Axeman. All right, here we go. Full grain leather. We'll see how this, see if this continues to deliver. All right, here we go. We hit that pretty hard. You see it, that leather needle hit that leather, and it was like, I don't know about this. I probably didn't give it enough gas. That's my hunch. Let's check out this full grain leather. All right, full grain leather. Recently acquired from Axeman, which is a local Minneapolis, St. Paul. I think it's actually St. Paul, a local St. Paul store. And that's our top stitching right there. And again, the needle we're using originally was a standard Schmetz 100 by 16 leather needle. It was about 38 millimeters long, and we modified it and reduced the size by about 3.5 millimeters so that it will work on this rotary new home machine. And I don't know what you're seeing, but I'm seeing some absolutely drop dead gorgeous top stitching. And again, if I tilt it a little bit towards the camera, look at the thickness of the leather that we just went through. Full grain leather is one of the toughest leathers that you can possibly sew. And Bonnie's machine just did a fabulous job of getting the job done. Fabulous job. Gorgeous, gorgeous stitching through a lot of leather. We'll turn it over, look at the lock stitching. Start over on this end. So if you've struggled before in getting needles for your rotary machine, whether it's a new home or a white or domestic, I hope that this live stream has opened up your understanding that you can take a standard 15x1 Schmetz needle and you can modify it to work in these machines very, very nicely. If you miss that, rewind and you can check it out after the live stream. So some beautiful lock stitching as well through all of this leather. I mean, that is, in fact, like a leather, that's like a thick man's leather belt, you know, or a thick woman's leather belt. Full grain leather. Some beautiful lock stitching. Some absolutely gorgeous top stitching as well. Imagine if you're doing a leather product using full grain leather and you're delivering stitching like that using your rotary machine, you're going to sell that product in a hiccup. You're going to sell it in a hiccup. It's going to be gone. And I mean, that is, it just shows you how strong this machine is. A Westinghouse motor, 0.7 amps, but it is direct drive with that pulley system that it has on the back. And it's doing just a fabulous, fabulous job. Yeah, I agree with Susie. Absolutely stunning. So far on this live stream, because I showed you guys a lot of stuff, including how to make a custom needle. We've done this so far on the live stream. We've done denim, we've done cotton, we've done upholstery material, and now we just did this full grain leather. So I'm going to do a couple other sew-offs for you. And then we're going to wrap this live stream up pretty quick. Let's see. I got to do some more leather, right? Got to do some more leather. I've got this veg tan type leather. You see right there in the shot. Some hardcore stuff. This is the stuff that my friend Dusty out in the high desert of California loves to sew for his celebrity friends. He's made out of veg tan leather, similar to this. He's made guitar straps for Johnny Depp. He's made stuff for Ozzy Osbourne, I think, a couple other big shots that are music celebrities and movie celebrities. So we're going to see if we can do a single layer of this, and then we'll add potentially a second layer of this veg tan leather to our sew-off. And I'm hoping our custom-made leather modified needle blah, blah, blah gets the job done as well as it has. All right, I'm going to set this up. And I am going to put on a little bit of music now. Try to. Just turn the volume down a little bit. All right, let's try some of this veg tan leather. Single layer, and then we'll consider adding a second layer to it. Again, rotate your balance wheel to the rear to get that take-up arm all the way up. And I'll try to give it a little bit more gas this time, hopefully, so I don't get stalled out on this leather. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah. Hello. Very, very nice. Ha-ha! Oh, yeah. Hello. Hello, you. Yeah, we might have to do a second layer. I don't want to sell this rotary short with its 0.7 amp direct drive style motor. Yeah, let's cut that, and I'll give you a closer look at these, and then we'll probably add another layer, and we'll sew it off to Mozart. I hope we sew it off to Mozart. And yes, if Schmetz is watching right now, I'm actually sewing leather with a leather needle. Who knew? Yeah. Very, very nice. Very nice. Wow. Once the camera says, yeah, I'm going to focus now. Not quite as thick as the full grain leather, but that's still probably about 3, almost 4 ounces of leather. Some beautiful, beautiful stitching. I really like the full grain leather best so far as how it presents the stitch, especially that top stitch. Let's look at the lock stitching now. Very, very nice. Lock stitching vertically. I love the look of vertical stitches sometimes, don't you? Beautiful stitching. Lock stitching, there's kind of a totality view, almost totality, and top stitching. Wow. Ha ha! Wow. Ha ha! Let's add a second layer. I hope I don't jinx us. I hope I don't jinx us. All right, so there's our first layer right there, and our second, and I'll put it out so that we can see that even a little bit more clearly. I may give this a little bit of a hand start this time, because that's a lot of leather. That's a lot of leather to go through. Place your foot down. I'm going to get my take-up arm all the way up. And again, if you join us a little bit late, we've got an interesting system on the rotary where instead of the balance wheel rotating to the front, it rotates to the rear. And then we also have an interesting bobbin case system in here as well. It's called the long beak shuttle system. Long beak shuttle system, because at the top of the bobbin, like I showed you before, there's a little beak that sticks up that you have to thread the thread through as well. And I can tell you over the years that I've done this, I've gotten a number of calls from people that did not understand that you had to thread it through the top of there and the machine wouldn't sew. And then as soon as they threaded it like I showed you, they had success. All right, Mozart, we're going to try to do 2 layers. And if I break this needle, we'll make another one. Ha ha! We'll make another needle. Yep. All right, here we go. I'm a little bit nervous. I didn't check this off camera. Let me get a little bit closer. All right, I'm taking a deep breath. I'm putting on my big boy pants. 2 layers of veg tan leather. It's probably going to be about 8 ounces of leather, close to it. Here we go. Slow down, buddy. Slow down. Wow. It hit that stuff like, let's get it done. Let's get it done. All right, I'll leave the little tails on so we can distinguish which is which as far as the top stitching, and then we'll flip it over and take a look at that lock stitching. So again, our top row is going to be the second one we just did through 2 layers of veg tan leather. The bottom row is the first one we did. And I'll tell you one thing, I like that top stitching even better than the first sew-off we did through 2 layers. That top row, I think, is even more spectacular, even more page 34 plus. Wow. And we made the needle we're sewing with. Well, we modified it. We didn't really make it. We won't steal the thunder from Schmetz. They make the best needles in the world, in my opinion. But that is some gorgeous stitching through 2 layers of veg tan leather. 2 layers of veg tan leather. Unbelievable. You see it like that as well. Camera's going, I don't know exactly where to focus, but I'm trying. How about out there? How about here? Beautiful stitching. Unbelievable stitching. All right, let's flip it over and we'll look at that lock stitch at last. Here's our lock stitch through 2 layers of this veg tan leather. And absolutely mind-blowing, the clarity of that stitch through that much leather. Unbelievable. Wow. And we've got our tension spot on right now, don't we? We've got a good tension balance between bottom and top. Some really, really good looking lock stitching right there. If the camera focuses on it. Some gorgeous top stitching as well. Whoops. Gorgeous top stitching as well. Both times we sewed this veg tan leather, both with the single layer and the second layer as well, absolutely page 34 plus stitching. Gorgeous stitching. I'll add this to our pile. We've done 2 different types of leather now. We've done the full grain leather that I sewed off on first, this stuff right here. Where is it? There it is. The full grain leather, which I absolutely love. I love this stuff. I think Susie and I are going to go back to Axeman and buy more of it. We might buy all of it. I don't know. We might buy more. And now the also the veg tan leather as well. So we're going to do a little bit more leather. It's kind of a little leather fest going on. We've done upholstery material. We've done denim. We've done cotton. And I think we'll go through a little bit more leather. Maybe we'll do a little bit of Italian leather. We got some Italian leather right here. Maybe I'll try stitching around the corners. I always do a straight line. I'll try to show off a little bit now and see if I can stitch around the edges of this successfully. We'll see. All right. A little bit of Italiano leather. A little bit of Italian leather. See if we can do this. Grab a little bit more music to sew around. Not in a circle. We're going to sew in a square. I don't want Royal Classic. Give me something else. Give me some dance music. We can do some dance music around here. Or maybe, Irish music. Let's do Irish music. Irish music to recognize Father's Day. Why not, right? Yeah. I'll keep the volume down so you can also hear the machine. All right, let's try a little bit of Italian. A little bit of Italian. Bring my take-up arm all the way up. Rotating the balance wheel to the rear. Still going. Still going. There we go. All right. Italian leather, a single layer. Let's see if we can get through this. Ha-ha! You see it hit that and it's like, I don't know about this. That's tough stuff. And I just totally went off the leather. Ah! See if I can sneak back on the leather now. I'm totally off the leather right now. Ugh, 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 ugh. Might as well trim these real quick. All right, let's see if I can get back on the leather. Here we go. I'm going to make my turn early this time. I'm not going to goof up again. And this is how you sew a non-straight line. Yeah. All right, make our turn again a little bit early. Here we go. Aha. Well, that is the weirdest looking square that I have ever seen. But we'll take a look at the stitching anyway. I'm going to show it to you like this. So I don't have to adjust the camera. Folks, that is some gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous. I'm going to pause the music. Drop dead gorgeous top stitching right there. If you have top stitching like that and you're making a product, your product, as long as you sew straighter than I do, as long as you sew straighter than I do, you're going to sell that product real quick because that is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous stitching. And again, we're doing it with a modified Schmetz needle. If you joined us late, we actually took a needle and we cut it down by 3.5 millimeters so that it's the proper length for this rotary machine. And that needle that we modified is just sewing up a storm. Beautiful, beautiful stitching on all of the leather. I just wish that the needle would sew straight. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's me, operator error. So beautiful, beautiful top stitching. Really quite lovely, isn't it? Turn it over, look at that lock stitching now. Beautiful lock stitching as well. I'll kind of rotate it like this. Yeah, very, very nice. A little bit more upper tension maybe. But all in all, we're getting a real nice balance. I don't remember which way I rotated it. I think that way. A real nice balance on this Italian leather. And again, we are sewing with a Schmetz leather needle that we modified. So now that needle is approximately, what did I say? 34.5 millimeters. We're sewing with a modified Schmetz needle is 34.5 millimeters instead of the original length of 38, because the rotary machines require a shorter needle, don't they? Yeah, really, really some good looking stitching. Yeah. Very, very nice. All right, I'm going to throw this in the pile. So now we've done Italian leather as well. I'll just go through a quick summary of what we've done. We've done Italian leather. We've done 6 layers of denim. We've done 4 layers of 100% cotton. We've done 4 layers of upholstery material. We've done a single layer of full grain leather. And we did 2 layers of veg tan leather as well, laying down some beautiful stitching. So this is our sew-off sandwich so far, Sewing Olympics, as I like to call it. Our sew-off Olympics, our sew-off sandwich. I'm going to throw that in the back. We got a little bit more to do before we wrap up this live stream. I've got a circle of vinyl too. I wonder if I should try. I haven't tested this vinyl, but I wonder if I should try this vinyl as well on the machine. Some people like sewing vinyl instead of leather. Kind of looks like leather, but it's generally a lot cheaper to buy it than leather. We'll give this a go, huh? I just don't want to run out of thread. I don't want to run out of thread. All right, we'll give this a go and see how this machine likes vinyl. See how this machine likes vinyl. I'll tell you one thing, it doesn't like hitting vinyl, that's for sure. Get you a little bit closer. This is fun. I'll make you totally dizzy. All right, that's enough. Yeah, that's kind of fun. I usually do that to leather, and I probably still will. But that's fun to do it to the vinyl as well, isn't it? Vinyls is just a very tricky material, especially when you're sewing with a modified needle, and you've literally custom cut it to work with a sewing machine. You might be a little bit nervous about sewing vinyl because it's really, really easy to skip stitching, isn't it, when you're sewing with a vinyl material? But I think all in all, Bonnie's machine did a spectacular job with this vinyl material that I just stitched off on. I didn't even test this off camera. And this machine just really rose to the occasion, and I think did quite a spectacular job with vinyl. Again, we're sewing vinyl with a custom-made, custom-modified leather needle. A custom-modified leather needle. There's our lock stitching. We need more. When you're sewing vinyl, you might need a little bit more upper tension. You can see at certain points we nailed it, but as I was twisting the leather around, we needed to bump up our upper tension a little bit to maintain that lock stitching. So, but that was fun. And that's a lot of vinyl if you look at it from the side. Probably about 3 ounces of vinyl. Yeah. So I think that's the first time I've sewn this stuff specifically like that, especially using a leather needle. Oh, and welcome to, looks like Robin. Welcome to Robin from Minnesota. And Robin just asked a question, which was a great reminder to me as I was racing through trying to do the final sew-offs. I'm going to cover the threading of the machine right now. Let's cover the threading of the machine. So coming off the top, and this is my go-to Coates & Clark Dual Duty XP thread. I've just got it upside down. There it is. Ha ha! So my Dual Duty XP thread, we're kind of coming across. We've got a little thread guide, almost to it. Got a little thread guide right here. See if I can back up and show you this from here. Got a thread guide right here on top of the faceplate that we come through first. So from the thread spool over here, we come straight across through this thread guide. We then drop down to our tension. Come down, 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 down. We come down through our tension. And when I got this machine from Bonnie, I'll kind of come over here so you can see it more clearly. When the presser foot lever is in the up position, it actually pushes the take-up spring up. It pushes the take-up spring up a little bit. Watch what happens when I lower it. See, the spring is going back down, back up. It's actually pushing the entire spring, that little pin right there. Believe it or not, that spring was underneath the pin when I got the machine. It was underneath the pin. I said to Susie, I said, how in heaven's name did someone get that spring underneath the pin? It should be resting on top of the pin, and it was below it. Definitely not good. So I had to take apart the entire upper tension so I could carefully bring that spring back into the proper position again. So whoever did that, naughty, naughty, naughty. Don't mess with springs like that. It's not nice. So we come again down here. We come around that tension. We then come through that take-up spring. We actually come through the spring itself. And here's where the tricky part comes in, sort of tricky. As we're coming away from that spring right there, so we're coming away from that spring and we go vertical. So we go vertical, we're coming up to our take-up arm. With our take-up arm, we're always, almost always with our take-up arm, we're going to be threading it from front to back or from right to left, right? Front to back or right to left. Well, in this case, we have to thread it from back to front. I'm going to say it again. When we get up to the take-up arm, do not put the thread from the front to the back and then go down, come around the back of it, and come from the back to the front, the back to the front, and then bring your thread down to this thread guide right here, right there. And then we've got one other thread guide right here. And then we're going to thread that needle from left to right. And again, the flat side of the needle is going to be facing towards the pillar or towards the balance wheel, which tells you as this rotary hook system is going the opposite direction that we're accustomed to seeing a sewing machine go. It's going to be rotating basically counterclockwise to the left with the balance wheel turning to the back. That hook system is going to be on the right side of the needle trying to grab that thread. Okay. And if you decide to try to reset the timing on one of these rotary machines, be real careful. And I'm saying be real careful because the space tolerance between where the hook comes and where the needle sweeps down is about, if it's a thousandth of an inch, it's a thousandth of an inch. So if you adjust the hook timing and you're adjusting that on the output shaft, you've got to make sure that you offset the hook enough so that it doesn't hit the needle. I hope that makes sense. I showed you in the other live stream, I held basically a hook system, a hook assembly that I had replaced. I think it was on that featherweight. And then I turned it. I showed you kind of how that needle sweeps down adjacent to the hook turning. This one is real sensitive as far as the tolerance from front to back. So be real careful if you decide to take it on. If you watch a YouTube video, I think the only person on YouTube that tries to show you hook timing in a decent way is our dear friend Andy Tube out in Arizona. And Andy does a really good job of trying to teach people hook timing, but it's not just a matter of getting the hook in the right place on the needle. It's also getting it the right distance from the needle as well. So just take that into account along with your needle bar timing as well. There's a lot of things in play, especially on these rotary machines. So just be extra cautious if you decide to take it on. Yeah, if you decide to take it on. All right. So that's the threading. I know Robin asked about it, and I had promised earlier in the live stream that I would show you how to do it. So really the only semi-tricky thing is the take-up bar. Make sure you're threading it from back to front instead of from front to back like we typically do. Okay? All right. A little bit more Irish music. And then we're going to wrap up this live stream pretty doggone quick. Entering my code. All right, what do I have left? Have I done cowhide? I haven't done cowhide yet. I've got some genuine, where am I? I've got some genuine cowhide here. I think we'll do a little bit more leather and some Amazon Prime paper, and then we'll probably wrap this up pretty quick. Genuine cowhide, probably 3 ounces thick, approximately. Let's go ahead and zip down this and see how we do. See if our modified Schmetz needle continues to perform well. I wish I had been on your side. I'll have to watch this as a video later and see how cool the sparks looked as I was actually cutting this needle down by 3.5 millimeters. I love sparks, don't you? Especially as we're coming up on the 4th of July. Maybe what you could do is go on the porch with an extension cord and your rotary tool and your rotary machine and custom cut a needle for the kids in the neighborhood. They'd be like, that's cool. It's better than sparklers. It really is. It puts out a lot of sparks. If you didn't see that part, you can watch it after the live stream. All right, so genuine cowhide. And that's a pretty good camera angle, I think. Yeah. Let's buzz down this and see how we do. The voice of confidence. Genuine cowhide. I'm in so much of a habit, like all of you, of rotating the balance wheel to the front. I started to do that right now. I had to, whoa, stop. On the rotary machines, you've got to rotate the balance wheel always, 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 always to the rear. Always. All the other machines are just wrong, right? The rotary machines are the only ones that are right, rotating it to the rear. The only ones. All right, let's check out this genuine cowhide, and then we'll move towards wrapping up this live stream. It's about 12 o'clock. We're doing okay on time. How long have we been running? 2 hours and 13 minutes. That's pretty good for us. Let's take a look at this, and then we'll wrap up this live stream pretty quick. So genuine cowhide, again, about 3 to 4 ounces. You see the thickness there from the edge. And I think we absolutely nailed it again with our custom-made, modified needle, blah, 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 is doing a fabulous job. Maybe I should custom make all of my needles. What do you think? Should custom make all of our needles. Beautiful, beautiful stitching on the part of this new home rotary machine with a 0.7 amp direct drive type motor that belongs to our friend Bonnie. Our friend Bonnie. Look at it like this as well. Beautiful stitching. So can a rotary machine do an excellent job with leather, even thicker leathers? The answer is absolutely yes. If you've never considered a rotary machine, and the beauty of this one, again, is being made out of a magnesium material, it's substantially lighter than a lot of the other rotary machines. We'll be doing an unboxing in the next week or so of a machine I just got for Susie, the same make and model to her recollection that her mom used to use, and the one that Susie and her sisters learned to sew on. So I think it'd be really, really cool if we can do that unboxing, and I can show off that machine a little bit as well before this impending transition to Kentucky, which is coming very, very quickly. But some lovely work by this rotary machine sewing off on this leather as well. Turn it around, we'll look at that lock stitch. Get a little bit closer. Kind of hard to see it a little bit, isn't it? See if I can pull it back a little bit for you. Part of it is that reflection on the light. Let me see if I can block that light out. There we go. I've got my hand cupped over the live stream camera right now to block out the glare. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. Very, very nice lock stitch. And no surprise, we're sewing with a leather needle that we modified to sew on this rotary machine. And it's just doing a fabulous job, isn't it? Definitely page 34 plus stitching. Beautiful stitching. See, as soon as I take my hand away from that, blocking the light out, all of a sudden it's nearly impossible to see it. Not blocked? Blocked. All right. And again, the top stitching again, absolutely spectacular. Imagine if you were sewing on cowhide like this and making a product. And you could see the thickness of the cowhide there in the shot right there, I believe. You could while it was in focus. So some beautiful, beautiful stitching on the part of this rotary. There's our top stitch. There's our lock stitch. I bring it in. You can really see it. And now the camera's saying, okay, I'm on the weekend. I don't know that I'm going to focus anymore. It's probably trying to focus on my hand. So anyway, beautiful stitching, lock stitching, top stitching. That's our lock stitching there. Our top stitching. I'll throw that in our pile. So a quick recap again on what we've done so far on this live stream on Bonnie's really cool, I call it the golden machine, made by New Home, 1940s, 1950s. It has that Greyhound badge mark on it, and their whole slogan was light running, because being made out of magnesium, it's a light machine. It weighs probably about the same as a featherweight, real close. The only thing that puts a little bit of weight on it is that motor in the back and that motor assembly, so that you're able to rotate this away. It's got a metal bracket on there that puts a little bit more weight on it. But otherwise, it's super lightweight machine, but very powerful. We went through this cowhide just right now. Went through this vinyl, this tricky vinyl, kind of sewed around in a circle a little bit for fun. Sewed on this veg tan leather, 2 layers of that. Laid down some absolutely drop dead gorgeous stitching. Full grain leather, just got this stuff from the Axeman in Minneapolis. Going to probably buy more of it to take to Kentucky so I can use it for sew-offs. 4 layers of upholstery material. That's nylon, recycled nylon, and also polyester. And it went through that like a dream as well. 4 layers of cotton. No surprise, it loves cotton. 6 layers of denim. Loves denim as well. Went through denim. And then also this Italian leather, kind of sewed around sort of in a square. My version of a square that has an uphill apparently. And did a brilliant job with that as well. So our sew-off sandwich, our Sewing Olympics for this live stream looks like that. Like I said, I do it differently than other folks on other YouTube channels. They'll do 1, maybe 2 sew-offs, and they say, okay, the machine's all set. The machine's all ready. How can you possibly say the machine is ready without going through a diverse field of materials like this? You just can't, because that person might, see that it sews denim, but they're not going to be sewing denim. They want to sew cotton to do quilting, or they might want to do leather sewing. So you got to demonstrate a wide field, and it also opens people's eyes to saying, holy mackerel, I did not know that a rotary machine like that could handle all of those different materials so well as it's done. Yeah. And now we're going to wrap it up with some good old-fashioned Amazon Prime packing parchment paper. Got to do it, right? We got to do it. Got to do it. And I did have this ready to sew around in a circle with genuine cowhide, but I'll save this for our necky machine that's coming up soon. That belongs to a wonderful gal in the Twin Cities. This machine had everything under the sun going wrong with it, and now it's all but ready to go through a premiere or a live stream. I'll be showing this necky. It's a Mira, necky BU Mira, and it's a fabulous Italian machine. Fabulous Italian machine. Real busy in the workshop as I'm trying to get all the machines done for customers in Minneapolis. I do not want to take them to Kentucky. No way, Jose. Don't want to do it. So I got to get all these machines done. I think I have 7 or 8 left that I've got to get done in the next 2 weeks. And I won't be live streaming all of them, obviously. So, all right. So back over to here to the Amazon Prime packing parchment paper, blah, blah, blah. I'm starting with, I got to get a drink of tea real quick here. Oh, yeah, a little bit of tea. All right, I'm starting with 2 layers. You can kind of see that, sort of, kind of. I'm going to fold it over, get us up to 4 layers, 6 layers, 8 layers, 10 layers, 12 layers, 14 layers, 16 layers of Amazon Prime packing parchment paper. 16 layers. If you've never sewn paper before, where have you been? Under a rock? You've got to try sewing paper. If you order from Amazon or one of those other delivery type services, inevitably, no matter what you buy, you can buy vitamins. And when you buy vitamins, they stick this paper wrapped around it, kind of tucked in there. Don't throw it away. Don't recycle it, at least not right away. Save some of this paper like Susie has done for me. And then all of a sudden, you've got another sew off opportunity, right? And it doesn't cost you anything. You already paid for the item that you bought. And all you have to do then is fold the paper and create some beautiful things with it. Sewing machines love Amazon Prime packing parchment paper. They just do. So I'm going to try to get these 16 layers underneath the presser foot. And we're going to buzz down. This will be our final sew off for this live stream for Bonnie's amazing new home. I want to call it Grease Lightning. Because it's got that really cool image of the Greyhound on the front. But it says light running. I think they should have put Grease Lightning. But then they'd have to take the dog off. Unless the dog's name is Lightning. Maybe that would work. Might work. I don't think it would work. It might work. I didn't even show you the badge mark on the inside of the pillar either. See if I can give you a shot of the badge mark on the inside of the pillar. Super cool. Isn't that neat? Really, really nice. And they've got their little badge mark right here. Made in the USA. Rockford, Illinois. Has anyone ever been to Rockford, Illinois? If you've ever been to Rockford, Illinois, or maybe even driven through it, type it in the live chat. That's where these machines were made. And then eventually Janome took over operations of building new homes like a lot of the makers. A lot of the makers kind of sold out to Janome. And then they went over to Tokyo, Japan, or somewhere over there. Yeah. All right. What did I say? 16 layers? Somebody help me out. Did I say 16 layers? 16 layers of, I think that's what we said, isn't it? Someone help me out. Did I say, did we cut off 16 layers? I want to say we did. 16 layers. Yes. Susie said yes. Okay. 16 layers of Amazon Prime packing parchment paper. This again is a modified needle that we started with a regular leather needle like this. And then we carefully held it in the forceps after marking it with our proper needle length. We cut it down, and that's what we've been sewing all these sew-offs with, is a modified Schmetz needle. And our final sew-off now, we're going to see if we can pull off 16 layers of Amazon Prime packing parchment paper. All right? Feel like we need music to do this with. Maybe. See what I have here. Yeah, a little bit of Irish music. All right, here we go. Final sew-off for this amazing new home rotary machine that belongs to Bonnie. 16 layers of Amazon Prime packing parchment paper. Here we go. I haven't given it any gas at all really during this live stream. I had to rev it up a little bit. Had to rev it up just a little bit on this final sew-off. Wow. Ha ha! Absolutely. I'm going to show these up to you close and personal. Absolutely spectacular. And we don't have as prominent of a tuft on the back of there because we're using a size 100 needle, and it's cutting through instead of when we use the universal needles. Um, when we use the universal needles, most of you know I've talked about it multiple times. The universal needles have a slightly rounded point. They have a slightly rounded point, so they punch through this paper instead of slicing through the paper like a leather needle does. And when they punch through the paper, they create a bigger tuft on the lock stitch side. Not as much so with a leather needle today. It kind of cuts through and it doesn't create as big of a tuft on the back. You'll see that when we look at the stitching up close. But what a great machine. I really have enjoyed getting it back into a working condition for Bonnie. She's a wonderful gal from, again, the Twin Cities. And she's going to be able to have a lot of fun with this machine. A lot of fun, even though you've got to use modified rotary style needles. I showed you how easy it is with a little bit of patience to create your own needle modification today. All right, let's look at the top stitching first. 16 layers of Amazon Prime packing parchment paper. 16 layers. And this new home went through it like a hot knife through butter and laid down drop dead gorgeous stitching. Look at that stitching. Go to a book where it says the perfect stitch. Featherweight owners are always talking about their perfect stitch. Try doing this 16 layers of Amazon Prime packing parchment paper on a featherweight. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Not even with one that I restore. It's a little bit too much for that little girl. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. Thickness, 16 layers of Amazon Prime packing parchment paper. It looks like a phone book almost, doesn't it? It almost looks like a phone book. We're going to turn it over now. Let's see how we did on that lock stitch. Go across and look at that lock stitch. And again, it didn't create quite as much tuft because that leather needle has such a sharp serrated point on it almost, doesn't it? Some beautiful stitching. And what I would do is I would probably bump that upper tension just a little bit. I'm seeing a good joining point, but it's a little bit on the loose side. Don't you agree? Just a little bit on the loose side. So we would just increase that upper tension slightly, and then we would be able to tighten up that lock stitch a little bit more. But some lovely, lovely stitching. Just crazy, beautiful stitching from this rotary by New Home. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. So a quick recap, and then we'll wrap up this live stream. Really appreciate everybody being in attendance again. I realize how busy you are on a Saturday, and the fact that you took time. I'm truly grateful that you took time to spend time with the family. Whether you're in Minneapolis like Robin, in the Twin Cities area like Robin and Susie and myself right now, or whether you're around the world, we're always grateful to have you here at the live streams. Always grateful to have you here. Oh, I didn't even have the light on. Ha! Now I do. All right. So during this live stream, we just got done doing the Amazon Prime packing parchment paper, 16 layers of that. We also did 6 layers of denim. Beautiful stitching on that as well. I'm going to try to stack these. I'll put that on the bottom. We did cotton as well. Some beautiful stitching from the cotton. We did upholstery material, 4 layers of that. Beautiful stitching. We also did this vinyl, which is notorious for causing skip stitching and other issues. And this rotary that belongs to Bonnie did a fabulous job. We'll put that on the bottom. Vinyl can be real tricky if you've ever sewn it. Then we did this Italian leather. I tried to sew in a square. I didn't do so great, but I tried. Beautiful results there as well. We did this veg tan leather, 2 layers of that. Beautiful stitching through some real thick leather, super crazy thick leather. We did this genuine cowhide, beautiful stitching from the machine as well on that. And then, I should say last but not least, but my newfound friend, this full grain leather. Full grain leather, which if any of you are in the Twin Cities area, shout out to the people in Minnesota that have inundated me with their machines. I'm so grateful for the opportunity of having serviced so many people in the Minneapolis, Minnesota, St. Paul area, Coon Rapids area, West St. Paul. The list goes on of Land of Lakes. No, I'm getting that wrong. Susie, where's that place we went recently to pick up those 3 Slantomatics? Something Lakes, whatever it was. I have no idea. But if you're in the area, anywhere near St. Paul, Minnesota, go to Axeman. Not today, because I'm going to go in there and buy all the leather. Ha ha! No, I won't. I'll leave some for you. Lake of the Lakes? Oh, Lake of the Isles. Susie and I also picked up 3 Slantomatics from Lake of the Isles or something like that. Another part in Minnesota. But yeah, go to Axeman. It's on the left side of the store as you walk in on some big blue bins. And they've got all kinds of cool leather scraps. It's $3 a pound, $3 a pound to buy their leather there, which I think is a pretty fair price. And pick up some leather so you can mess around and have fun with leather like we did with this really cool leather here. Yeah, Axeman on University Avenue in St. Paul. Exactly right. But this is what we did on the live stream today on Bonnie's machine. This is the way I do it. I think it's the right way to do it. You don't do 1 or 2 sew-offs and consider a machine ready for duty. That's a bunch of malarkey. You take a machine. If you have a YouTube channel, I'm shouting out to all the other YouTubers. If you have a Facebook page, if you have an Etsy page, whatever, do it right. Do it the cow country way, and take a machine through a sew-off sandwich, a sewing Olympics like this. If you're trying to sell a machine, do it right. Run that machine through all of the paces so that the potential customer you have can say, wow, that can sew anything. It can do Italian leather. It can do vinyl. It can do parchment paper. It can do blah, blah, blah. And they all of a sudden get a new appreciation for that vintage or that antique sewing machine. And they say, while we love Joann's, while we love some of the other local sewing places, we're not going to buy a plastic machine to try to do this. We're just not. It doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't make sense. So this is the end of this live stream for Bonnie's machine. We'll be doing a couple more, and I also should drop a quick little tickler for you. A quick little tickler, whether you watch it now as a live stream or whether you watch it as a video later. If any of you have been curious about those Sashiko or Saskawa, as some people pronounce them as well, those machines by Baby Lock that simulate, Susie can tell you what they simulate, because Susie is going to be presenting the Sashiko type machine on one of the next upcoming video premieres or live streams. She battled this machine trying to get it to work properly. She battled this sucker. And it simulates, from what Susie just typed, hand quilting. And there's not a lot of good videos out there. There's not a lot of good instructional videos out there on this machine by Baby Lock. We're going to create one on Cow Country, and Susie is going to present this machine coming up very, very soon. Very, very soon. Yeah. In the meantime, I'm going to rotate this really cool new home. Rotate this new home that belongs to Bonnie as best as I can. And Yeah, I hope you enjoyed learning more about this great machine. Put on some music, and thank you to the leadership team for taking such great care of the family. Thank you to all of you that were here earlier and might be watching the rest of this later as a video because you had to step away. I think we had almost 700. Susie, how many people did we have earlier? About 700 some people? There's a lot of people, a lot of people. But a lot of folks have to, they got busy Saturdays. They can pop in, but then they have to leave. 794. We had 794 people in the live stream earlier. We're down to an intimate family right now, which I'll be honest with you, I'm not about the numbers. I think numbers are cool, but I love when we have a smaller family gathering. We have 11 people right now. Isn't that nice? It's like a small family gathering. We invited you over for dinner down in Kentucky. We don't have 100 people around the table. We've got like 7 or 8 people, 9 people, 10 people. That's the way I like small family gatherings, don't you? All right. So, but I'm also let me clarify that. I'm also grateful for the hundreds of people that pop in as they can, and they're part of the live stream as well. We don't want you to say, "Oh, he likes small numbers. We're not going to show up anymore." No, 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 no. We love it that you're here. We love it that you're here. Absolutely. Well, God bless you all. Happy Father's Day, and watch for Susie soon in one of the upcoming premieres or live streams presenting the Sashiko or the Sashako or Shakabuku Dukubuku baby lock machine and giving you some of the challenges she had, some of the tips and tricks, and all that blah, blah, blah. And then also try to get this Necky machine, kind of see it right through there, the Necky machine presented before we leave and head to Kentucky as well. Busy, busy, busy. God bless. Leave the light alone. What are you, a kid? Yeah, sort of. Yeehaw! Take care. God bless. See ya.